Hi, I'm Claudio Quartana, and you're listening to GGUTT, WGUTT. The law is still the same, meaning that the entry requirement is you should have been a non-resident of Italy for at least 2 years before relocating, and you should commit yourself to remain resident of Italy for at least 2 years. But now, the special regime is open to anyone, even without a brain. This is making me laugh. I mean, why I'm saying this? This is a joke because now you don't need a university degree. You don't need to be an high-skilled employee. You don't need to have an executive role within your company. Anyone can move.
Any Italian can move.
Any Italian and foreigners. Remember, since we are within the EU, we cannot distinguish Italian and foreigners. We can probably distinguish European versus non-European citizen. There's been a lot of discussion around that because this is discriminatory, but at least for European individuals, you now can move to Italy and work in Italy or from Italy. Remember, I mentioned new way of working, remote working from home, and take benefit of the favorable regime. The favorable regime says that you are exempted on 70% of your income. So you pay taxes on 30% of your income. So if you're working abroad and decide to relocate to Italy, still working for your employer who sit abroad, but you work mainly from Italy. So you need to work for more than 50% of the time from Italy. You will pay taxes on Italy just on 30% of your income. This special regime lasts for 5 years. The 2 years is the minimum number of years you should remain in Italy. So you cannot decide to move from Portugal to Italy just for 1 year and then the year later relocate back in Portugal or go to a third country. If you want to join and take benefit of this regime, you should relocate to Italy and remain tax resident for at least 2 fiscal years. The regime lasts for 5 fiscal years, but then you are able to obtain another 5-year extension.
Okay.
So it gives you 10 years in total of a favorable regime. The law is a little bit complex because the first 5 years, you have 70% discount. The additional 5 years is 50% discount. But it's still great because you are going to pay half of the taxes that, for example, myself is paying. So this is a great opportunity for employees, but also for self-employees. This is important.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
The re-entry is open to employees and to self-employees. With self-employees, there are certain limitations. It's quite technical. Probably at the end of the day, depending on the level of income, the rientro dei cervelli, the inbound tax regime for self-employees is attractive, but up to a certain amount of income.
Yeah.
But in general, this is a great opportunity that you cannot miss. You cannot miss because you have 5 plus 5. And also, if you decide to relocate to the southern region of Italy, that means below Rome, so Puglia, Basilicata, Campania, the island, Sicily, and Sardinia, Calabria, if you decide to relocate there, working from there, the discount is even higher because you get 90% discount. So 90% discount.
For the first 5 years.
For the first 5 years. Then you go into the 50%.
Okay.
And then there are other elements important, but I mean, today we have no time to go on all the details because depending on your family size, you may obtain an additional discount because if you have 3 dependents minor, so less than 18 years old, in the first 5 years, you can get 90% discount even if you work in the north part of Italy. So there are different combinations. The message is, there are 2 messages. One is, you can benefit from this regime even if you have a foreign employer. There's been a lot of discussion about that. I don't want to be boring on that, but the good message is tax authorities confirmed officially that you can relocate to Italy even under a foreign employment contract. So you can have your employer in Portugal and working from Milan. The only important thing is that you work mainly from Italy. So for the majority of the time.
6
this
plus
is the
month.
6 plus month. This is the first message. The second message is, I'm talking about income tax. Remember, personal income taxes. So we should not forget at least 2 other elements that I already highlighted at the beginning of this session. And these are corporate tax ramification. So we still need to understand whether your presence, your significant presence in Italy, remember, more than 6 months in Italy, attracts the residency or the risk for your foreign employer to be taxed in Italy.
Yeah.
This is very important. This mainly depends on the nature of the activity you perform and the structure of the company. So whether the company already has a legal presence in Italy, for example, a branch, a representative office. And the third important element is the favorable tax regime. The 70, the 90, the 50 discount is on personal income tax, not on social security. Remember, any employees and any self-employee is required to pay social security contribution in the country where he or she work. You pay taxes, social taxes where you work, unless there is an exemption under a European regulation. So why I'm saying this? Because if you're planning to take benefit of this special regime, you should contact a professional that assists you because there are personal tax ramifications, corporate tax ramification, and social security. In particular, the social security for employees. Remember, if you are required to pay social security in Italy, you cannot pay on your own if you are an employee, because the obligation to remit the social security with the Italian social security authorities is always on your employer charge. This means, again, remember, first of all, you should inform your employer, because if it ends up that you need to pay social security taxes in Italy, the employer has to remit and pay the social security with the Italian authorities. So the employer is required to register in Italy, pay social security.
When
This
you
is
say
important.
register, you mean a branch, incorporate a branch?
No, that is a good question, because this doesn't mean that the foreign employer has to set up a company in Italy or a branch or a legal presence for corporate tax. He needs to appoint what is called social security representative. So he should appoint another company or a professional, for example, a payroll company, to act on his behalf to remit social security in Italy. So it doesn't need to set up a company or a branch in Italy. He needed to register with the Italian social security authorities and say, hey guys, I have an employee in Italy. I need to remit Social Security in Italy for this employee. This is the person or the company who will act on my behalf in front of Social Security authorities. This is the company or the professional who will run the Social Security payroll on my behalf. So that is important because what I've seen, the new way of working, digital nomads, has been several cases where the Social Security aspect had not been ended in the correct manner. So remember, if you are an employee, this is something that needs to be undertaken and managed by your employee. If you are a self-employee, conversely, you can handle this. So you have to register with the Italian Social Security, obtain the social number, and handle this. But that is important because people who are listening today that are employees of a foreign entity should think about that. They should discuss with HR in order to understand the next steps and handle the Social Security in the right manner.
Yeah, I think this is easier for corporations or more medium enterprises when it comes to startups. For their employees who just decide to live somewhere else, it's a bit more. I'm not gonna say it's more complicated, but I guess I'm talking about kind of early stage, Series A. They have other things to deal
I know.
with. So,
I
but
know.
that's it, right? This is
I mean, that's it. There are no exceptions. I mean,
yeah,
I know. I work with the clients of every size, from the startup to the multi-billion
yeah,
corporation, and the regulation and the requirement are pretty the same. So my
okay,
suggestion is, if you are a startup or a small company, a newly set up company, you need to put on the table you need to analyze all the legal requirements and legal obligation, regardless of the number of employees, regardless of the figures involved. No matter if you have to remit to the authorities 10,000 K or 1 million euros in Social Security, because penalties are the same, regardless of the amount, regardless of the figure. So my suggestion is, if you have a situation where you are looking for the first time at cross-border, a cross-border transaction, because you are going to have a foreign employees, you are going to have a foreign contract, don't forget to analyze the tax and the Social Security.
yeah,
Not only for the benefit of your employee or for the benefit of your employer, because sometimes I heard the company say, okay, it's not my business. They should seek advice from their personal account. That is true, but it's not fully true because, as mentioned, you may have some obligation as a company in the foreign country, for example.
yeah.
Because, for example, Portugal may ask you to remit Social Security, as Italy does. So that is the way to, in my opinion, to handle, even if you are at the early stage, because the rules are the same. On this purpose, with the reference to this, there are no exemptions.
And I guess the
And
logic you're following here is not only for Italy, but for
for,
most countries, right?
at least within the European Union, I
Yeah,
can confirm to you that you may have different tax legislation. You may have, and you have for sure, different tax rates, a different cost of labor.
yeah, yeah,
But at the same time, when it comes to Social Security, there is a unique regulation, Regulation 883 2004. So you have a unique approach to tax and Social Security. So it has to be considered. It cannot be underestimated.